We're on the bottom of Daf Lamed Ches Amud Aleph, 3 lines from the bottom. Tanu Rabbanan. So we're talking over here about a person that's making an Eruv when Shabbos and Yom Tov fall out together, one day after the next, and he makes an Eruv on both days. So the question is it one Kedusha the 2 days, or is it 2 separate Kedushas? So the Gemara now brings a Braisa with the 3-way machlokes about this. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braisa, Iriv beraglov b'yom rishon. A person made an Eruv for the first day, and he went there by himself. So ma'arav meraglov b'yom sheni. So for the second day, he's going to have to come back there by himself as well to have the Eruv for the second day. In other words, what he's saying is that it's 2 separate kedushas. So you were there for the first day, that establishes you're dwelling there for the first day, but for the second day you have to come back. Nechal Eruv b'yom rishon, your Eruv was eaten up on the first day, and yaitzal of b'sheni. So the Eruv that you put there for the first day is not going to be good for the second day. It's not there anymore. Divrei Rabbi. This is Rabbi's opinion. Rabbi Yehuda says, Harei zeh chamar gamol. We're talking about the second case we just said now. The Eruv that got eaten up, so there's a suffix. We had already this mashal before in the Mishnah. Chamar gamol is a mashal for a suffix regarding Eruv Tchumen. Chamar gamol is a person that has a donkey ahead of him and a camel behind him, or maybe the other way around, and he's sort of pulled in 2 directions. Meaning, this person that placed the Eruv for the first day and it got eaten up for the second day, so on the second day, it's a suffix if it's a good Eruv or not. So on one hand, we consider it to be a good Eruv, so his shvisa is there, so his 2,000 amas is measured from that place. On the other hand, maybe it's not a good Eruv. So his shvisa is in his home, and his 2,000 amas is from where his home is. So therefore, he's pulled from 2 directions, and he can only go the space between the Eruv and his house. It's a suffix. So they say it's no suffix. Erev beraglov berishain, you placed the Eruv there, or you went by foot, and you were there for the first day. Eima arav beraglov b'sheni. You don't have to go there for the second day. Nechal Eruv b'yom rishon, yaitzal b'sheni. You had an Eruv that was there the first day. Even though it got eaten up before the second day, you can go out on the second day and rely on the Eruv that was there on the first day. In other words, what do they hold? That it's one kedusha. It's one big kedusha. Eruv for the first day works for the next day as well. Talk to Gemara Rav. Now the Gemara is going to switch the opinions here, as we'll see. So Rav said, halacha kedalit zkenim halalu. The halacha is like 4 zakenim. Who are these 4? Va'aliba de Rabbi Eliezer. And all these 4 zakenim follow the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer that we learned in the Mishnah. What does Rabbi Eliezer hold? That it's all one, the Amma that said, the Amma base Kedusha saying, that says that it's 2 different Kedushas. That was Rabbi Eliezer in the Mishnah that said, you can make the Eruv in 2 different directions because it's 2 different Kedushas. Who are these 4 Zakenim? The Eila and Dalet Zakenim, Rab Shimon ben Gamliel, Rabbi Shmuel ben Yochanan, ben Breike, and Rabbi Eliezer ben Rab Shimon, Rabbi Yosi bar Yehuda Stimta. Rashi says he's called Stimta because many Mishnayos, many Stam Mishnahs go according to Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda. Okay, so these are the 4 Zakenim that agree to Rabbi Eliezer that it's 2 Kedushas. Vekedamri, another opinion is that what did Rav say? Chad minayu Rabbi Lazar. One of the 4 Zakenim was Rabbi Lazar. Rashi says Rabbi Lazar ben Shamua. Umapik Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda Stimta. And he takes out Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda. So the Gemara right away asks, how could you say that that 2 of these 4 Zakenim were Vaha, Rab Shimon ben Gamliel, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yochanan ben Breike, Ibcha Shamina Luhu. We just brought a Braisa that says the exact opposite. That they hold that it's considered to be 1 Kedusha. You make an Eruv on the first day and it works for the second day. And for the Gemara, Eipoch. You're right. Now that Rav said this, we have to switch the opinion. That really, what did they say? They said that it's considered to be 2 different Kedushas, and you have to go there on the first day, you have to go there on the second day, you have to have food there for the first day, food for the second day. You have to switch their opinion. Frag the Gemara. No, so they said that it's meaning that it's 1 Kedusha. If you don't have to go there for the second day, so that means that it's 1 Kedusha. Now here we're trying to say that they were from the 4th Cain of the hell that it's 2 Kedushas. So Eipach, you have to switch their opinion. Frag the Gemara, Ihachi Hainu Rebbe. So if so, they're saying the same thing as Rebbe, which was the first Tana of that Braisa. So what's the difference? And for the Gemara, you're right. You have Rebbe's opinion that said that you have to make an Eruv. That you make an Eruv on the first day, and you don't have to make an Eruv for the second day. Yeah. Right? So v'chein amar Rebbe. So you talk v'chein amar Rav Shimon Gamliel. So they said that you have to say v'chein amar. It's a switched opinion. Frag the Gemara again. So they both hold. I'm not sure if I said it correctly. I'm going to say again. Rebbe holds that it's two different kedushas. And if you have an Erev on the first day, you have to have a new Erev for the second day if it was eaten up. And v'chein amar Rav Shimon Gamliel and so on. That it's two separate days and you have to make a separate Erev on each day. You have to switch their opinion to fit with Rebbe. Oh, frag the Gemara. If so, v'lachshev nami Rebbe. Why are we saying there's only 4 Zekanim? Rebbe is not from the Zekanim. Rebbe also holds like this. And for the Gemara, Rebbe Tanila, Rebbe said this halacha, he taught this halacha, but v'lo yisav Allah. He doesn't hold so. He only said this, he repeated this opinion, but he doesn't hold of this. Frag the Gemara, if so, Rabbanon nami Tanila v'lo yisav Allah. So these two Rabbanon, which are Rab Shimon ben Gamliel and Rabbi Shmuel, maybe they're also saying this, but they don't hold of this. How did Rav know to say that they are from the Zekanim that did hold, and Rebbe is from the Zekanim that did not hold of it? So the Gemara, Rav Gemara Gamila. Rav had a Kabbalah. Rav had a tradition that these were the 4 Zekanim that held of this, and not Rebbe. So that's what was Rav had a Kabbalah.
Is this negate also 2 kedushas, so one Gabe preparing from one day to the next?
The Gemara is going to talk about it. Yeah, we're going to see. That's the Hemshech of the Gemara. So the Gemara, Kinoch Nafshe de Rav Huna. When Rav Huna passed away, Ayel Rav Chiste, so Rav Chiste entered into the Beis Medrash. And Lemirma, he asked the question, the Rav ad Rav. He asked a contradiction from what Rav said over here to what Rav said somewhere else. So what does Rav say over here? That it's 2 kedushas, right? We have 4 Zekanim that say that it's 2 kedushas. So he asked a contradiction from what Rav said in another place. Mi Omar Rav Alocha Kedalet Zekanim. Did Rav say that it's 2 kedushas like these 4 Zekanim? Valiba the Rabbi Eliezer Damish Te kedushas. That it's 2 kedushas for itma, but we learned in another place. What does Rav say? Shabbos v'Yom Tov. If you have Shabbos and Yom Tov that came out together, so Rav says Nelda bazeh. If you have an egg that's born on that's hatched on the first day on Shabbos, let's say, asura bazeh, you can't use it on Yom Tov. Why not? What's the reason? B'pashtus, because it's 1 kedusha. What's the halacha? The very first Mishnah in Masechta Beitza. Beis Chanel de B'Yom Tov is Aser. So if you have a Yom Tov and a Shabbos right after, or a Shabbos and a Yom Tov right after, so if the Beis was born on one day, is it Aser on the next day? Rav says yes. So now the Gemara understands why would it be Aser on the next day? Because it's like it was born on that day. It's one long Kedusha. So here I see that Rav holds that it's all one long Kedusha. And for the Gemara, Amar Rabbe, so Rabbe says, no, there it's a different story. Hasa mishum hachana. Even if it's considered to be 2 different kedushas, but there's an isser to prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbos or from Shabbos to Yom Tov. How do I know this? The Tanya we learned in the Braisa regarding the man, v'hoya b'yom hashishi v'achinu. On Friday you prepare. Chayil mechen l'Shabbos, v'chayil mechen l'Yom Tov. That the weekday prepares to Shabbos and a weekday prepares to Yom Tov. But v'ein Yom Tov mechen l'Shabbos. On Yom Tov you're not allowed to prepare for Shabbos, ve'ein Shabbos mechin Yom Tov, and on Shabbos you're not allowed to prepare for Yom Tov. This is the reason why you have to make an Erev Tafshilin, right? You can't prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbos or from Shabbos to Yom Tov. I mean, we're making an Erev Tafshilin if Yom Tov falls out the day before to be able to prepare for Shabbos. Okay, so this limud that you learn out from B'Yahaya by Yom Hashishi, so there's actually 2 opinions of how this limud works. The one pshat is that V'Yahaya by Yom Hashishi is Friday. So Friday is a Yom Chayil, right? So we see that it's only by Yom Hashishi that prepares for Shabbos. But there's another pshat here. Taisva says that it also refers to the month, that the month did not come down on Friday. Sorry, again, the month came down dafka on Friday for Shabbos, and even if what we're talking about over here is that the Friday was not a Yom Tov. If the Friday is not a Yom Tov, Hashishi means a regular Friday. A regular Friday, so the month came down on Friday to prepare for Shabbos. What's if the Friday was Yom Tov? Did the month come down on Friday if it was a Yom Tov? So it's actually a machlokes. Taisus here brings 2 medrashim if the month came down on Yom Tov or not. One medrash says that the month, just like it didn't come down on Shabbos, it didn't come down on Yom Tov either. It came down Erev Yom Tov, a double portion. Another shit in the medrash is that no, the month did come down on Yom Tov. So if Yom Tov was Friday, the Eibusha did prepare from Friday to Shabbos. However, that's not what the pasuk's talking about over here, because it says Hashishi. Hashishi means a usual Friday where it was not Yom Tov. This Tosfos is the makir to the Shaila when you get to Lechem Mishnah, is the Rechiv of Lechem Mishnah on Yom Tov. It depends on whether the month came down on Yom Tov or not, whether there was the Lechem Mishnah on Erev Yom Tov or not. Our minhag, of course, is that we do make Lechem Mishnah on Yom Tov, but it's based on this medrash over here, whether it came down on Yom Tov. Okay, so the point that Rabbi is saying over here is that you don't prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbos or from Shabbos to Yom Tov. So even if you're going to say that it's two different Kedushas, an egg that's born and was prepared by the very fact that it's born on Shabbos or on Yom Tov, it means it's prepared on this day and you can't use it today. So it's only being prepared for tomorrow. So there's a hachana from Yom Tov to Shabbos or from Shabbos to Yom Tov. That's the problem over here. So the Gemara, so now the Gemara is going to continue on this subject there. Now, Rabbi was machadish that there's an issue of hachana. Says Abaye, if so, elo that's nans. If so, let's go back over to Erev Tchumen. This that we learn, what does the person do? How does he make an Erev Tchumen if you have a Yom Tov and Shabbos together? You bring it for the first day, and you put it there by Ben Hashmoshes. And then v'noitla, you can take the food away afterwards. You come back on Yom Tov, and you're bringing it now for the Shabbos. You leave it over there for the Erev, for the Ben Hashmoshes for Shabbos and Vayichlai, and then on Shabbos you could eat it. Frek the Gemara, wait a minute. How is he bringing his Erev on Yom Tov for Shabbos? Ubalai. He comes there on Yom Tov with his Erev for Shabbos. Hakameichem Yom Tov l'Shabbos. But he's preparing, he's doing an action, he's preparing from Yom Tov to Shabbos. Rabbi says you can't prepare on Yom Tov for Shabbos. So how is he preparing his Erev Tchumen on Yom Tov for Shabbos? So Rabbi says, Mi savre seifa yem kaina. Do you think that the Erev takes effect, that the establishment of the Erev is at the end of the day of Erev Shabbos? Erev Tchilas Hayom Kaina. Again, let's read it again. Mi savre Seif Hayom Kaina Erev, Tchilas Hayom Kaina Erev. It's the beginning of the Shabbos when the Erev is Kaina. And therefore, the Shabbos Mechina La'atzma. It's the Shabbos that's doing it's the day of Shabbos itself that's preparing for itself, which is not an issue. It's not the Yom Tov that's preparing for Shabbos. When you bring the Erev there, you taka bringing it, but it doesn't take effect. It doesn't do anything until Shabbos starts. That's when the Erev takes effect.
The bringing itself not
No, the bringing itself is not the problem if it doesn't accomplish anything. Stam, if a person walks around the food and he brings something, it does alain. No, but if it took effect, if something took effect and it was valuable, then there's an issue with the hachana. If the hachana that you did on Yom Tov itself had garnished oifgetan, then there's no issue with the hachana. So the hayais,
for no reason.
No, that's not a problem. If it doesn't do, if it's tut garnished oif, no, it's okay. So that's already a different shaila. Okay, that's a different discussion. Over here we're talking about the issue of hachana. The issue of hachana is only if it took effect. So therefore he tells him it only takes effect at night. When Shabbos begins, the Yom Tov is not preparing for Shabbos. So now the Gemara brings back, very bekitzer, but the Gemara brings back something that we learned before. Ela meyata, if so, ya'arvu belogin. They should be able to make an Erev Tchumim belogin. What's this case of login? If you remember, we had a case of a barrel that was tomei. It was a tful yain. And if you wait till at night, it won't be tomei anymore. So he makes the Erev, and he says that it should be an Erev. So what did it say before in the Gemara? That you can't make this Erev Tchumen. Why not? Because during the day it's still Tameh. It only becomes Eist Full Yom. It only becomes Tahir at night. So therefore you can't make an Erev. But now that we're saying that the Erev only takes effect at night, so this login which is going to become Tahir at night, why can't you use it for an Erev? We asked this question before already. So the Gemara answers, Bi'inon Su'uda Haru'uya Mibayayim Veleka. Even if it's true that the Erev Tchumen doesn't take effect until at night, that's when your Shvisa is established, but the actual food itself that you're using for the Erev has to be fit for the Erev, has to be a Suda that's fit for eating already from the daytime. Mm-hmm. So therefore, it's not fit for eating from the daytime because it's Tameh, so you can't use it. No, but the accomplishing is the effect of it, when it's Chal. Whatever you do till then is just a hechsher, but it's not, doesn't take effect yet. The Gemara brings another question. Again, this is all questions on what Rabbi said, that you're not allowed to make a hachana from Yom Tov to Shabbos or from Shabbos to Yom Tov. Elo, that not so this that we learned in the Mishnah, Rebbe Eliezer, Yom Tov asamach l'Shabbos. Yom Tov falls out near Shabbos, whether before Shabbos or right after Shabbos. Sunday, ma'arav adam shnei Eiruvin, you make 2 Eiruvin. So how could you make 2 Eiruvin? So what did it say? You can make 1 Eruv on Yom Tov where you're going in one direction to Mizrach. Then you make another direction, an Eruv that you're going for Shabbos, you want to go to Ma'ariv. Frek the Gemara, if the person makes such a kind of an Eruv, so what's going to happen over here? Second, where am I over here? Habe'inon, frek the Gemara, habe'inon su'uda haru'uya mibayayim veleke. Oh, the Gemara is actually asking a question about this concept of su'uda haru'uya mibayayim. What is, you have to be able to access this food mibayayim. So think about it. If you're making an Eruv, you're living right in the middle in the city. And then you're putting your Eruv on Mizrach, all the way at the end on Mizrach, 2,000 amas away. So now your Shvisa is there, 2,000 amas, and you can walk from there another 2,000 amas. And you want to put for Shabbos and Eruv in the opposite direction on Ma'ariv, also 2,000 amas away. On Yontif, you can't go to where that Eruv is, in the other direction, 2,000 amas to the other direction. So Mib'oid Yaim, that food that you're putting for Shabbos in the opposite direction is not right for you. You can't access it, it's too far. It's too far for you to go there. So how could you make an Eruv in two opposite directions? And for the Gemara, you're right. Mi savres the monachla b'soif al payim amalekan b'soif al payim amalekan. Do you think that the case over here is that the person puts his Eruv on the Mizrach 2,000 amas away and on the Ma'ariv 2,000 amas away? That's not what the person's doing. So then you're right, he wouldn't be able to access it. What is the person doing it? Loi, that's not the case. The manach le b'seif elef amalekan u b'seif elef amalekan. He's putting his Eruv to the Mizrach 1,000 amas away from his house in one direction, and the Eruv to the Ma'ariv 1,000 amas away to the other direction. So between the two Eiruvin on Mizrach and Ma'ariv, there's only 2,000 amas, and he's able to walk from one to another. So it's Rui Olav Mebaydyan. He could access it during the day. Frek the Gemara another shaila Elo Dam Rav Yehuda. So this that we had before, Rav Yehuda said, Irev Beraglov Yom Rishon. You go there to that place on the first day. So again, we're talking about Shabbos and Yontif that fell out together. So you went there Beraglov on the first day, Ma'arav Beraglov Yom Sheni. So on the second day, you have to go there yourself to establish the Erev. Erev bepas b'yom rishon. You put bread there for the first day. Ma'arav bepas b'yom Sheni. You have to put bread there for the second day. How could the person do this? You're preparing from Yom Tov to Shabbos. So Rashi explains that the Gemara's question here is specifically from the first case of this Braisa, or from what Rav Yehuda said, where it says that the person is going there with his feet. The case where the person puts down the pas, that the Gemara already explains that when you put down the pas, when does the Erev take effect? When Shabbos starts, not during Yom Tov. But when you go there with your feet, so at this point the Gemara thinks, if you're going there yourself, you're not putting down any food, how do you establish Shvisa in a place by going there yourself? You're just walking there, you just stand there, what do you have to do? The person has to say, I want to dwell in this place. If you have food is the ikadira of the person. You put down the food, that establishes it. But if you're going there with your feet, you have to say so. When is the person saying this? The person is saying this by day, but you can't say it when Shabbos begins because it's Bein Hashmashos. You don't know exactly when Shabbos begins. So therefore the person is saying this by day. So he's doing this Erev and saying it befeidish by day. So he's preparing for Yom Tov. Amalei, so the Gemara answers, no. Mi savres the azol v'ama midi. Do you think that the pshat of a person going there with his feet himself, he has to say something in order for the Erev to take effect? The azol v'shasik. He can go there, and even if he just stands there and he has kavanah in his mind and he's quiet, that's enough. The Erev will take effect. V'shasik v'yasev, and he sits there. Come on, and if he doesn't say the dibur, it's not considered to be achana. The fact that he sits there, that's not achana. Then it happens kilu, it's happening on its own. He doesn't express it b'dibur. Come on, according to who does this go? Rav Yechanan ben Nuri. The Amar Rav Yechanan ben Nuri says, Cheftzei hefker koinen shvisa. Rav Yechanan ben Nuri says that if you have an item which is hefker, even if it's ownerless, but if it's in a certain place and it's hefker, it's kind of shvisa, it establishes that that's where it is, and you can carry that item on a yontif from that place. So even hefker, without any dibur, without any das, it's kind of right over there. So the same thing over here, a person comes to a place and he's quiet, even if according to Rav Yechanan, as we'll see, the Gemara is going to explain now, even if a person is sleeping there, he sits, he's not, stam sleeping, he has no das at all. Like hefker, it's going to be kind of shvisa there as well, if he's there by Ben Hashmashos. Okay? So therefore, this statement over here from Rav Yehuda before is based on Rav Yechanan ben Nuri. Now the Gemara adds, You can say that what he said over here doesn't have to be dafka according to Rav Yochanan ben Nuri. It could be even according to the Rabbanan that argued with him. When did the Rabbanan say that the Eruv won't take effect if you're quiet? If you're sleeping, there's no das at all. He can't speak. If the person is awake, that if he could speak, he's able to. If the person has that das, even if he doesn't speak and say, I'm kind of shvisa here, it's as if he spoke. So therefore, you don't have to speak. If the person goes beraglov to make the erev, he doesn't have to speak, and it takes effect automatically. So therefore, it's not considered to be a hachana from Yom Tov to Shabbos. Another shaila, Amalei Rabbe barav chonin la Abaye. Rabbi Barav Chonin said to Abaye, Iya v'shmiya le'lemar, hodetanya. If Mar, which is Rabba, if Rabba would have heard this braisa, so then he would retract what he said. What is this? Look, na braisa lo yahalach adam lesoif sadeyu leida ma hitzricha. On Shabbos, a person is not allowed to go out to his field to look around and to see what his field needs. We learned this in Masechta Shabbos. Similar, a person is not allowed to go at the outskirts of a country or of a city, if that's where they have the bathhouses. So he goes out of Shabbos and he's there prepared, he wants to be able to go in right after Shabbos. Okay, so the Rabbi Barav Chonin is saying a similar thing over here, that the very fact that the person is even going there, standing there, he's not speaking b'dibra or anything, that's also considered to be a hachana. Just like we say when we get a person that's taking a walk near his field or near the merchatz. Is the person speaking? No. But we say that it's a problem, that he's going observing of what's going on in his field. We learned this in the Gemara Shabbos, that what's the Isser? Memtzei cheftzcha. A person is not allowed to be involved with his own personal needs on Shabbos. It's not Shabbos, but even without speaking. So what's the mile of the fact that the person doesn't have to speak? He's still going there to establish his shvisa for the Erev.
So it'd be a problem with achana still.
Correct. It's still a problem with achana, even without speaking. And for the Gemara, so the conclusion here is, he would have had charata of what he said before. So the Gemara says, no, it's not true. V'loihi, this is not true. Shmi'alei, he knew of this braisa regarding not walking by a field or the merchatz on Shabbos. And v'loihi, he still wouldn't have charata. It's not the same thing. Hasam muchacha milsa. Over there, the actions that the person is doing, he's walking near his field, near the merchatz, he has nothing to do there. It's very clear. There's no other way how to interpret his actions. It's clear that he's going there for that purpose. Hacha lav muchacha milsa. Here, the action that he's doing in itself does not prove that he's doing it for the purpose of a native. Why? Because there's other reasons it could be. If he's a Talmud Chacham, maybe there's a sugya, there's a subject that he's thinking about, that he forgot, that he's trying to think of, and he's walking outside the city to be able to think. If he's an Amar Aretz, maybe his donkey went astray and he's looking for his donkey. So the actions itself is not mochach. He's going into an open area. So why is he going there? Is he going there to put an erev, or is he going there to stand because he's taking a walk? So therefore, if the action itself is not mochach mitoicha, that this is what it is, it's not called achana. That's not defined as achana. So if he's not speaking and the action is not mochach, it's not achana. It's not a problem. Guf, now the Gemara goes back to this very statement that Rav Yehuda said, Rav Yehuda, Erev beraglo b'yom rishon. So you went there on the first day, ma'arav meraglo b'sheni. So you have to go there again on the second day. Erev b'pas b'yom rishon. You went there, you put bread there on the first day. Ma'arav b'pas b'yom sheni. You have to go back and put bread there on the second day. Erev b'pas b'rishon. If you put bread there on the first day, ma'arav beraglo b'sheni. So you can go back there on the second day with your feet and put and you're there and you're establishing the erev with your feet. Erev beraglov berishain. But if the person went there on the first day, ein ma'arev bepas b'sheni. You can't make an erev bepas on the second day. Why not? She'ein ma'arvim betchila bepas. You're not allowed to make an erev with the bread the first time preparing from Yom Tov to Shabbos. In other words, everything that we said before, that you're allowed to prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbos using a bread to prepare to make the Erev. What did the Gemara explain before? The Gemara said because the Erev takes effect in the beginning of Shabbos. So you're not preparing from Yom Tov to Shabbos because the Erev didn't take effect on Yom Tov. Now, the Gemara clarifies, Rav Yehuda here says, that's only if you're talking about a person that's using bread that he already used once before as an Eruv, and now you want to use that bread again as an Eruv. But if the first time you went, you made the Eruv by going there by feet, and now you're taking the bread for the first time to use it for the Eruv, then even though the Eruv takes effect at night, since this is bread that you're using now for the first time as an Eruv, it's going to be considered Hachana. You can't use it. You're preparing from Yom Tov to Shabbos.
What's the Hachana more than?
If the bread was already designated, if once it was designated already for an Eruv for the first day, so you can reuse it a second time for the second day. So it was already designated for an Eruv. So that there's no Hachana in the designation. The Hachana would be the effect of the Eruv, that it takes effect, and that only takes effect on Shabbos, at night. But if you never designated it before, so you're designating it now for the first time, even though it takes effect on Shabbos, you can't make an Eruv with it. You're preparing it, you're designating it on Yom Tov for Shabbos. So now the Gemara explains what Rav Yehuda is saying here. The Gemara repeats it and explains it. Erev bepas b'yayim rishain, ma'arev bepas b'yayim shein. If you used already this pas on the first day, so now you could use this pas on the second day. Ama Shmuel, so Shmuel explained this, u'ba'isa pas. What he meant to say is that it's the very same bread. Once it's this bread that was designated to be used for an Eruv, so now you can use it again for the second day. Ravashi says, Deikanami, I'll bring you a raya to this, that it's only if the bread was already designated for this. Masnisen from the Mishnah, Diktani, it said in our Mishnah, Keitzad Malichai Berishain Umachshechalav. You bring the Eruv over there on the first day, and you wait there with it, and then V'noitle, you can bring it back. This is if it's on Yantiv. And then Ubali B'Sheni, you come there for the second day for Shabbos. Umachshechalav, and you wait there with Ben Hashmashis with your food, and then V'oichla, you could eat it there. Ubala, and then you can come back home. So what do you see here in the Mishnah? What does it say? He comes there with his bread, he takes the bread home, and he brings the same bread back. So you see that it's telling you that you should use the same bread, not a different bread. So you see over here that it's only Ba'isa Pas. Okay? Now the Gemara says, V'Rabbanon, the Rabbanon before that asked the question, this is going back over here, before the Rabbanon, I forgot who it was, Rashi here says, who was the Rabbanon? The Rabbanon was Abaye and Rabbi Bar Chonin. Before the Gemara brought up this Mishnah and asked the question that there's Achana, there's the issue of Achana. Why do they ask from this Mishnah that there's the issue of Achana? If we say that you're using the very same bread that was already designated before, Dil Mahasam Eitza Teva Kamashmalan. The Rabbanan hold that maybe this Mishnah that says that you bring the same bread back, it's only an Eitza Teva. But Lav Dafke means that you're bringing the same bread. So since it's only, they didn't hold of this deal that you have to bring back the same bread. The Mishnah stopped telling you an Eitza Teva. You don't have to prepare two separate breads. You can use the very same bread again.
So it was the second Erev Baragl the first day, and then the second day
there would be an issue of Achana. That's why they asked the question from here that there's an issue of Achana. It's a Teva Kamashmalan to use the same bread. But really the Mishnah meant to say that you could use two different breads. You could use
a second bread, and it's also Achana.
There's an issue of Achana. That's why they asked the question from here that there's an issue of Achana. The Rabbanon, the Gemara before Taka asked the question from here that there is the issue of Achana because they held that Lav Dafki is using the same bread. Ah, that's the next Mishnah. How did you know? Now, Shgacha Pratis. It's 2 days before Rosh Hashanah, 3 days before Rosh Hashanah. The whole next Mishnah is all about Rosh Hashanah and the famous Machlokes if it's Yema Richter or not. Here we go. Zok the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rosh Hashanah. So when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, so what happens on Rosh Hashanah, right? Of course, Rosh Hashanah, we know that usually the whole suffix of 2 days Yom Tov is only outside of Eretz Yisrael. But Rosh Hashanah, that suffix is even in Eretz Yisrael itself. Because you don't know on the first day, so it comes Lamed Elul. You don't know if it's going to be Lamed Elul or it's going to be Aleph Tishrei. So they kept the whole first day Kodesh, and then they waited to see if the Eidim are going to come. And if the Eidim didn't come until after Mincha, until after the Talmud Shel Ben Arbayim, so then the first day was Kodesh, and the next day was Kodesh. Okay, so Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda Reish Hashanah Shayayarei Shema Tisaber. When the person doesn't know if it's going to be Lamed Elul, that's what this Aber means, it's going to be a full month of Elul, and so therefore he's keeping 2 days Kodesh. Ma'arev Adam Shnei Eiruvin, the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah are considered to be 2 separate Kedushas. It's a suffix. If the first day is Kodesh, the second day is not Kodesh. If the second day is Kodesh, the first day is not Kodesh. So it's a suffix, so therefore it's 2 separate Kedushas. And va'aymer, and the person could say, and here he says the same thing like we learned in the previous Mishnah when you have Yontif and Shabbos that fall out together. Eiruvin b'rishon l'mizrach, I'm making one Erev for Mizrach for one day, or b'sheni l'mayrev for the second day to Mayrev, b'rishon l'mayrev, b'sheni l'mizrach, or Eiruvin b'rishon, for the first day I'm making an Erev, or b'sheni kibnei iri, for the second day I want to be like the people of my city, I don't need an Erev, Eiruvin b'sheni, I need an Erev only for the second day, or b'rishon kibnei iri, and on the first day I don't need an Erev, I'll be like the people of my city. So it's two separate kedushas. Even in the Gate Rosh Hashanah, he says the whole thing is also a sveika d'yayme. If it's a sveika d'yayme, if one is kaddish, the other one is not. So it's just two kedushas. However, the Chachamim did not agree to him. The Chachamim held that the Chachamim established that the kedusha of the 2 days as a vadai, and it's considered to be one long kedusha both days of Rosh Hashanah, as we'll see in the Gemara the Hezbollah for this.
It's really, anyways, one day, really.
Yeah, Rosh Hashanah is only one day.
It's still the sveika
It's a sveika d'yayme, but the Chachamim hold that agam it's a sveika d'yayme, it's considered to be one long kedusha. The Gemara will explain. We'll see. What do you mean? Yeah, correct. Over here it says v'loy hoidu lechachamim. They did not agree to him. Rabbi Yehuda said another halacha b'regei to Rosh Hashanah. Masna adam al kalkala b'yom tevirishin. So you have a kalkala, you have a basket of fruits that you did not take truma from it. You're not allowed to take truma on yontif. Why not? You're mesakin. It's a shvus. It's a gzeirim b'darabana. You don't take truma. So if you have 2 days yontif, so you can make a condition. B'yom tevirishin v'oich leb'sheni. So you take the truma on the first day and you say, if today is chayil and tomorrow is yontif, so my truma took effect today. Then tomorrow you do the same thing and you say, if today is chayil and yesterday was yontif, what I did yesterday didn't take effect, what I'm doing now will take effect. So you make this tonight.
You can't eat it till the second
day.
Correct.
And then on the second day you could eat it. V'chein, and same thing also, beitza shenel de berishain, teichel b'sheni. So a beitza shenel de b'yontiv is aser for various reasons, which the Gemara will quote later here as well. But if it's 2 days yontiv, so it's two separate kedushas. So if it was born on the first day, you can eat it on the second day. And again, v'lo hoidu lechachamim. The Chachamim were not made to this as well, because again, the point is, Chachamim hold the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah is all one big kedusha, so you can't eat a beitza from one day to the next, you can't be mafresh truma from one day to the next. Abdeisa ben Harkin is saying, now the Gemara brings another halacha minigeh to Rosh Hashanah. Abdeisa ben Harkin said, Ha'evel ifnei ateva b'yomtiv shel Rosh Hashanah oimer, what do you say in the davening? Hachlitzeinu Hashem alekeinu es yom reish hachodesh hazeh. That the Eibishter should strengthen us on this day of Rosh Chodesh. So in other words, the Chiddush of Abdeisa ben Harkinis is that we mentioned Rosh Chodesh on Rosh Hashanah. And also another thing he says, you say, Im Hayom, or Im L'macha. You have to mention, because we keep 2 days Rosh Hashanah, so you mention the Nusach, that if today is Rosh Hashanah, or if tomorrow, because you don't know. L'macha, and you mention tomorrow Rosh Chodesh as well. And then the second day, what do you say? If today was Rosh Hashanah, or yesterday was Rosh Hashanah. And again, the Chachamim weren't made to this, and we'll see in the Gemara, there's two different details over here. There's two Chidushim, what Abdeisa ben Harkin has said. The very fact that you B'chlal mentioned Rosh Chodesh on Rosh Hashanah, and also this Lashon of Im Hayom, Im Machar, so we'll see the Gemara will explain. Okay, but first the Gemara comes back to the beginning of the Mishnah, when it said, V'loi hoidu lechachamim. Man loy hoidele chacham. Man loy hoidele. Who is the chachamim that were not maida? Amarav Rabbi Yosi. This is Rabbi Yosi. The Tanya we learned in the Braisa. Maidim chachamim la Rabbi Eliezer b'Rosh Hashanah. So in the Braisa it says that the chachamim were maida to Rabbi Eliezer in Rosh Hashanah. Right? The same chachamim that argued in the previous Mishnah regarding Yontif and Shabbos, but they were maida regarding Rosh Hashanah. Shayayar Shemet Sabbath that it might be 2 days. Tomorrow might be Yontif. So therefore you keep 2 days, ma'arav adam shnei Eiruvin, that you could make 2 different Eiruvin. Vayim Eiruvin b'rishon l'mizrach, b'sheni l'mayre, b'rishon l'mayre, b'sheni l'mizrach, Eiruvin b'rishon, b'sheni kibnei iri, Eiruvin b'sheni, b'rishon kibnei iri, exactly like it said in the Mishnah. So the Chachamim are made to Rabbi Eliezer that you can make 2 different Eiruvin. So who are the Chachamim in our Mishnah? So it says it, Rabbi Yosi Rabbi Yosi Oyser. Rabbi Yosi says, no, you can't do this. Rabbi Yosi holds that it is considered to be one long Kedusha. So the Rabbi Yosi is the Chachamim of our Mishnah. Now the Gemara explains what was Rabbi Yosi's Shittah. L'chayr, it's a Sveika d'yayme. If it's a Sveika d'yayme, so then, if the first day is Kodesh, the second day is Chayil, or the opposite. So why is it considered to be one long Kedusha? Rabbi Yosi explains, and Rabbi Yosi said, Iyata Maidim. Aren't you made that this takana that Chachamim made? This is explained in the Gemara in Beitze Barichis. So there was a takana. She'im bo edim min mincha l'mayla, that if the edim only came after mincha, shenoyegim oisa hayem kodesh ulamacha kodesh. They didn't accept the edim anymore, and Chachamim were misakin that they should consider to be the first day kodesh and the second day kodesh. Alright, so Chachamim made this takana. So what happened? The Gemara then Beitza says what happened was that one time the Edom came too late, and they ended up saying the shir on the carbon, the wrong shir on the carbon Talmud Shel Bein Arbayim. So therefore they made a takana that they don't accept the Edom later on, and they're noyig both days kodesh. Once Chachamim made that takana, the way Rabbi Yossi understands this is that now it becomes a vaday. And the whole thing lechatchila is a suffix, but Chachamim made a takana to be noyig hayom kodesh or lamacha kodesh. So it's considered to be now like both days are a vaday kedusha.
That part of the day wasn't a suffix.
Huh?
That part of the day wasn't a suffix.
Yeah. So therefore it's one hemshech, it's one big kedusha after you have the takana of the Chachamim. The Rabbanan disagree. The Rabbanan in the Braisa, which in our Mishnah it's Rabbi Eliezer. Or Rabbi Yehuda actually, so they disagree and say no, it's still not considered to be one big kedusha because of this takana. Hasam ki heichi deloi lezalzuli bei. Over there, the Chachamim made this takana that you shouldn't come to be mizalzel in other years. If you're going to say that if you're going to say that you could be noyig the rest of the day chayil after the carbon Talmud Shel Bein Arbayim, if the Eidim don't come to at that point and they're not makabel Eidim anymore, and you could be noyig chayil. So therefore, next year, even though the Eidim might come earlier, they're going to be mizalzel on the first day. The Eidim might come earlier in the day, and they are going to be makabel Eidim. They're going to be mizalzel. So the whole inyan of being noyig kodesh the first day is not the pshat that there's a real kedusha. It's just not to be mizalzel in another year that something different might happen. But be'emes it doesn't have any kedusha. So the whole thing is still just misafik. So therefore, one day is chayil and one day is kodesh. Now, Rabbi Yossi says once Chachamim made misakin that it should be kodesh, it's chal taka kedusha. It's considered to be one long day.
He argues on the tam. It sounds like he argues on the tam.
No. There's no argument about the tam. There's an argument on the gather of whether the kedusha is chal or not. Rabbi Yossi says it's chal ovade kedusha on both days, so it's considered to be one long hemshach. Rabbanan say the point is not that it's chal ovade kedusha. You're noyig this way not to be mizalzel in other years. It's just you're noyig this way. But be'emes it doesn't have a kedusha. Be'emes the whole thing is still misafik. Let's do one more shtickle. Sagt the Gemara. V'ay damer Rabbi Yehuda v'chulu. V'ay damer Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda said that it's considered to be two kedushas, right? And therefore you can make two different Eiruvin one day and the other day. And then he said another two halachas. You can make trumas. You can take a truma from one day to another with a condition, because the whole thing is a suffix. And also, what was the third thing he said? That beitza shenel de b'yom rishon, you can eat it b'yom sheni because it's two different kedushas. So the Gemara says, l'chayre, the point of all three halachas is the same thing, that it's two different kedushas. So why does he need all three halachas? It's riche. We need all three halachas. Iyashmin on Rosh Hashanah. If you would tell me the first halacha regarding Erev Tchumen on Rosh Hashanah, Baha Kamer Rabbi Yehuda Mishum Delei Ka'avid Midi, because on Rosh Hashanah itself, he's not doing anything from the first day to the next. He prepares this Erev already over there before Rosh Hashanah for both days, so he's not doing anything. So maybe then he can make the Erev for two directions for both days. Avol Kalkala the Mechzik and Misakin Tivla. On the Kalkala of Peiris, he's doing something on the first day of Yom Tiv for the second day. So even though he's making it with a condition, but he's doing something. It looks like he's being Misak and Tevel on Yom Tiv itself. Maybe it would be Moedul the Rabbanan that he's not allowed to do this. So that's the Chiddush in the second case, that if he makes a Tanai, he's allowed to. Via Shmin and Hani Tarti, if we would say only these two cases, Mishum the Lekel and Migzar Alayu. There's no reason to make any other Gzeira. Avo Beitza. When it comes to a Beitza that's born on Yom Tiv, what's the reason why a Beitza Shenel de B'Yom Tiv is Asar? What's the problem? What's the reason why you can't use a Beitza that's born on the first day of Yom Tiv? So the reason is, this is the beginning of Masechta Beitza. There's different Gzeiras that Chazal made. There's a Gzeira, Mishum Peiris and Neishim. It's just like Peiris that fall off a tree. If you allow a person to eat Peiris from a tree, he might come to pull off Peiris from a tree. So the Chachamim said, Beitza Shenelda it falls into a similar category. If you allow a person to eat a Beitza that's born on Yom Tiv, he might also come to take a Peiris off the tree that wasn't Roy before, and he might take it off the tree. Or Mishum Mashkin Shezavu. They said that a Beitza Shenelda is similar to Mashkin, that was before inside the fruit, and it's naila that comes out, it flows out of the fruit, that he's going to come to use that as well. So there's a gzeira. For a beitza chanel, that there's a gzeira. So I would think that gzeira applies over here as well, that the person might come and pull off a pedi or squeeze out mashkin from a fruit. Eime meidel rabbanon, I would say that he's meidel to the rabbanon. Tzriche, so therefore that's the chiddush, that he considers it to be 2 days, and therefore they warrant geyser from one day to another.
Isn't it the Indian of Neva?
No.
There's no Indian.
No, because
Neva,
it's
there's Mishum.
no.
Because
No. Over here, when it's a beitza chanel, no, that's not the issue. It's a gzeira. This is what the Gemara says in the beginning of beitza.
the whole Indian of Neva is this Gzeira?
This beitza chanel the biyamtiv, yeah, this gzeira, yeah.